And welcome to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. We are with you for the next 2 hours, so let's go. Marcellus Wiley here, Emmanuel Acho here.
What's up?
Don't hide the watch behind the computer. It's
just a little, so I had to change it up. Had to change
the gold tie bar.
It's the little things, ladies and gentlemen. It's the subtleties that make something great like this show's about to be.
I see you, brother. Don't overgold over there right now. Let's get it started in Dallas, where the Cowboys are coming off an 8-8 season, where they missed the playoffs. But, man, you wouldn't know it. Ezekiel Elliott said recently this is the most talented team he's been on, while Mike McCarthy said, quote, "We're in this to win a championship. Make no bones about it." Dak Prescott's mind appears to be on the present, saying, quote, "I seized the moment. I focus on the now. I think it's very important for me to do exactly that and not be distracted or put too much focus anywhere other than what it is that I'm doing now. My fire is burning, and my fire is big." You can throw whatever you want in there for it to burn and for it to get bigger. Oh, Acho, Cowboys doing too much talking here?
Man, them Cowboys doing a little too much chirping, Marcellus. Ooh. They're doing too much chirping because, to their credit, to Jerry Jones' credit, let me build him up first.
Yes.
He has built an empire. Not necessarily on the field, but he has built an empire as far as the Cowboys brand. For 2 years, 2016, 2017, I worked in Dallas. I worked for the Cowboys in that media department. I worked at the Star. You walk into the Star, Marcellus, one Cowboys way in Frisco, Texas, and you walk into the Star, $1 million of chandeliers.
Yeah.
You have replicas or the actual Super Bowl trophy sitting there, all of it, and you see the build, you see the hype. But the problem is, the Cowboys have been living off of hype since I was born. 3 years after I was born. Because I was born into the glory days.
Right.
I was born, I had an Emmitt Smith poster in my room, and it still had holes in it because it got jammed into my locker growing up. So I'm going to let you know it was real.
All in.
But since then, Marcellus, the last 24 years, Cowboys haven't been to a Super Bowl, haven't been to an NFC championship game. So if we're being honest, and I hate to say it, but the Cowboys have really been imposters. And they've been imposters because the expectations are so high. And why are they so high? Because each and every year, Jerry and Stephen Jones, they sell us on how good the franchise is going to be. And I buy it. I buy the hype. I believe the hype. And then the players, Zeke, Dak, they're selling us on dreams. And I'm buying it, Marcellus. I'm believing the hype. And then the roster, it sells us on glory. You got star after star at receiver. One of the best offensive lines, even though La'el Collins is hurt now. You got a quarterback who's a top 5 passer as far as yardage. And so you believe the hype. But then if the devil's in the details, the Cowboys only have 3 meaningful wins in the last 2 decades. 3 playoff wins. That is a problem, Marcellus. So, yes, they're doing too much chirping because they're not doing enough winning.
They're not doing too much chirping. They're not doing too much talking.
Sir.
What you're doing, and you're trying to really show it, is having buyer's remorse because you keep buying the hype. You know, Emmanuel Acho takes 30 seconds of clips that were spread out over 3 different months and says they just can't stop talking about how good they are. Wow, what a classic case of selective perception by you, Acho. And I didn't think you would fall into that sunken psychology. You're the out-of-towner, and I live here in L.A., born and raised. I've seen the Stars from 3rd grade. You're the out-of-towner that comes from Austin, Texas, shall you, and comes to L.A., gets off the airplane, drives through in his cab, gets to his hotel, and calls his friend, "Oh, my God, L.A. is crazy. Everyone has a Mercedes. Everyone's rich out here."
They do.
You see what I'm saying? This is the crazy.
And Bentleys. I seen a Rolls Royce while I was riding my bike this morning.
And you just forgot to look at all the Camrys, all the Sentras.
There are a couple of those.
There are more of those actually out here. But that's my point. Have you ever been a Dallas Cowboy? No, you haven't. You've been in there. You were working for the Cowboys, but you don't know how it feels to be on the varsity squad. I do.
Okay, talk to me.
It wasn't a good experience for me, but I know what the Stars still feels like. And let me tell you, JV team, because that's what University of Texas is. The JV of Texas. It's not the Houston Texans.
I'll let them get these shots out.
Yeah, I'm getting my shots fully loaded.
Get these shots out, please.
When you're a JV squad, you don't understand how you're inundated, how you're flooded with national attention on the daily. The beat writers in Dallas are in the dozens in comparison to other NFL teams. People always say when you make it to the NFL, you've arrived. Oh, no. once you become a Dallas Cowboy, you've arrived. Let me tell you about this experience and how it translates around the NFL. You keep talking about the Dallas Cowboys, chirping, chirping, chirping. What happens when the Bears and Allen Robinson comes out and says, we want to win a Super Bowl, and that's the main thing? Where's Acho then in his selective perception? What about when Ryan Pace, GM of the Bears, comes up? I really feel like we can excel this season. Our expectations are championship expectations. Where's the A block? Where's Acho? Where's this everyone in L.A. has a Benz? That's the problem, brother. You are doing what the Dallas Cowboys know you will do, which is look at them and make it bigger than it is.
You, sir, are a part of the problem.
Oh, I am?
You, Marcellus Wiley, are a part of the problem. You are the problem, actually. You just sat here and you told me, and you made the comparison out of your own mouth, that the Cowboys are varsity. Right?
Yeah.
If the Cowboys and playing for the Cowboys are varsity,
yes, that's
then they have varsity expectations. But how come the Cowboys only have 2 more playoff appearances than the Browns in the last 20 years? If the Cowboys are varsity, then where's the varsity achievement? No, sir, not yet, because I'm still going. I'm about to roll and start writing your notes because you're going to need every single ounce of them. Get every bit of ink out of that pen because I'm about to go. Last 20 seasons. Giants, they've been to 3 Super Bowls. They've won 2. Last 20 seasons, Eagles, not only have they been to 2 Super Bowls, they've been to 6 conference championships. Cowboys, what have they given us in the last 20 seasons? The only other teams, Marcellus, in the NFC that haven't been where the Cowboys are trying to go are the Lions and some other terrible team that is slipping my mind right now, okay? So you, sir, are actually the problem because people like you say the Cowboys are varsity. Yeah. People like you say the Cowboys are the gold standard. Yeah. People like you perpetuate that the Cowboys are America's team. While the Cowboys are greatness, they embody that because of what Jerry Jones has done with that brand and what Jerry Jones has done with that team. The Cowboys and their expectations let us down every year. Dak Prescott, what was he last year? He was 8-8. But Dak Prescott was 1-6 versus playoff teams, along with likes of Andy Dalton, Derek Carr, Jameis Winston. 2 of those quarterbacks are currently backups, but Dak Prescott, he should be the highest paid quarterback. Let Marcellus tell it. So the problem at hand here is you continue to build up these Cowboys. I continue to buy into the hype that they're varsity. They're varsity. I want them to be varsity. I was born in Dallas. I live 20 minutes away from Cowboy Stadium and 18 minutes away from the Star. I'm smack dab in Dallas, not a suburb. I have the Emmitt Smith poster. But it's time for me to stop buying into the hype and stop listening to these Cowboys players because they're doing too much talking like you just finished doing.
Wow. It's amazing that the Cowboys are guilty of doing what every single team in the NFL does in the offseason, which is win the offseason. And the Cowboys do it, all of a sudden, you take it and make it grander than it is because they're the Cowboys. You're putting more shine on it just because they're the star. And you know what? It's amazing to me that I'm working with such a youngster because that's a testament to how great you are, how fast you hit the ground running. You're 29 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
And right now, when it comes to historical data, I notice you say a lot in the last 20 years. In the last 20 years. Because, brother, maybe you ain't been here long enough to know how long the Cowboys have been rolling. And let's talk about the Cowboys when Jerry Jones first purchased them. What were they, 1-15? And then you like to go past those 3 championships they won in those 4 years. You like to go past that. But I don't. Because I'm not going to just suffer from recency bias and only look you.
24 years isn't recent.
Hold on.
24 years is a long time.
It certainly is, but it is still under the same ownership watch. You got to give Jerry Jones his full credit, is all I'm saying. You can't say outside of those 3 Super Bowls.
That's fair.
Because Dallas Cowboys are sitting there with the 3rd most amount of championships in NFL history. We know that they're behind the Patriots and they're behind the Steelers. So when you talk about this varsity, make sure you respect them in fullness, not just in your last 20 years, youngster.
I have a couple issues with what you're saying because what actually was the operative factor in the success for the Cowboys? Was it Jerry Jones or was it Jimmy Johnson? Because one of them left. And so did the Super Bowl.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
What you want me not to do? What you want me not to do?
Did Barry Switzer win the championship?
Okay, he got one. He got one. And I'm probably 2.5. But let's get back to the point because here's my real issue with what you're saying. You told me yesterday, and you told me today, my problem, America, is that I listen to Marcellus Wiley. Because what Marcellus told me is no one cares what you're doing until you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Marcellus, you told me that. So nobody cares that Jerry builds Jerry World, AT&T Stadium. Nobody cares that you have a $1.3 billion facility. You got, what, 3,252-inch televisions in this stadium. Nobody cares that you walk into your practice facility, sir, and you have $1 million in chandeliers. You have glass windows all in this practice facility, and you land your helicopter there. And everybody knows that Jerry Jones has arrived when the Jerry Chopper shows up and pulls in on the grass. I'm telling you, I've been there. I was there every day.
It's real.
Nobody cares what you're doing until you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Jerry Jones, you're doing so much extra stuff. You got a radio show every week you be on. These other GMs don't, Marcellus. Browns GMs, Redskins, they don't. But Jerry does. But the problem is, Jerry, the one thing you're supposed to be doing, winning Super Bowls, you not doing. So yes, Marcellus, now I care about everything else that Jerry's doing because he's not doing what other organizations are doing. Ryan Pace, the Bears GM, he's not sitting here on different talk shows each and every day. He's not sitting down with star reporters for star networks coming off of his yacht in L.A. with his glasses on, sitting down with all the glamour. And Ryan Pace isn't doing that. Jerry Jones is doing that.
And how many Super Bowls has Ryan Pace?
He's significantly younger. Significant, but he has one with the Saints. He does have one with the Saints.
Good for him.
In the last 10 years, what Jerry got? What Jerry got?
3 times that amount. Let's keep talking. There's a double bottom line. I know you took a business course.
Okay,
of course. All that psychology stuff and everything else you took at Texas, right? There's a double bottom line, they say. You got to do well and do good, right? Jerry has done well for himself. What is the Dallas Cowboys ranked in terms of financial worth?
Number 1, I would assume.
Oh, you assume? They're number 1. Okay, so he's done well. Now let's talk about doing good. And usually that's in the charity scope. But let's just talk about doing good. Like, be good at your job. Jerry Jones has 3 trophies of equity that somehow, some way, you have lost picture of because all you want to talk about is the last few years.
No, Marcellus, I haven't lost picture. My problem is
also in the Hall of Fame, but Ryan Pace, ladies and gentlemen,
how long can you rest on your laurels of old, Marcellus? How long are you going to keep telling me, well, no, here's Marcellus. In 20 years, you're going to be like, well, back in my day, young Gacho.
Yeah,
See,
right.
back in my day, remember Jerry Jones had won about 2 or 3 titles back in the early 1990s. Come on, Marcellus. You know what have you done for me lately?
No, you sound like new money, brother. I'm old money over here. I'm generational wealth. You don't see it, the flash. You don't see it all the time. But trust me, don't ever test it because it's there. You're paying attention to the Cowboys, and you're trying to make it seem like they're trying to seek attention. There's a big difference. You ever seen that? You ever seen that play out? You ever seen that beautiful Tiffany Cambridge? I'm always talking about Tiffany Cambridge, 9th grade, most beautiful person I ever saw in my eyes. Good Lord. And Tiffany would just walk into class. But it wasn't her fault that the class would stop learning, stop teaching, to focus on her. And then it got misconstrued to, she just want everybody to stare at her. When the reality was, that was on you. Onus on you, brother, for always paying attention to her. You're doing the same thing to the Dallas Cowboys.
You dare, and you're a reasonable human being.
Don't talk about Tiffany Cambridge.
You're a reasonable human being, so I have to ask you. You were going to tell me that in the midst of Jerry Jones building a complete stadium, which was coined Jerry World, Jerry Jones having a practice facility that is extremely luxurious and having a condominium essentially attached to said practice facility. You're going to tell me that by videoing all of these stars that happen to be at games, there are a lot of stars that go to games, sir, but when you see Conor McGregor showing up at the Cowboys, you better believe the whole world going to know about it. You're going to tell me that the Cowboys don't do anything to seek attention. Please, sir, speak now the truth.
Yes.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes. Using your premise, using your optics. And Jerry's World is the biggest, baddest thing in sports. Oh, no, it's not anymore. Oh, that new SoFi Stadium. SoFi Stadium, bigger, badder, $4 billion stadium. Not even Jerry's World, trumping that. Stan Kroenke and my man, Dean Spanos, respect to them. I mean, combined Super Bowls. And doing it bigger. It's not always seeking attention. It's just the fact that you're paying attention. You can do it big. And Jerry has 3 trophies of equity and a Hall of Fame status. If he can't flex, who in the hell in the world should be able to? I won. Coming up at the top of the hour, the Chiefs kick the season off tomorrow against the Texans. We'll let you know if KC is the next dynasty. But first, Reggie Bush joins the show, and we'll tell you if Brady's Bucs or Brees Saints are the team to beat in the NFC. Speak for yourself, presented by Hyundai. Spirited. Took me a lot of different places.
Hey guys, Juju Smith-Schuster here. Probably weird to hear me on this podcast thing when you're used to seeing me do my thing on the field. Football's a huge part of my life, but there's another thing I love, and that's lounging. And there's only one way to do it, while wearing MeUndies, baby. I love MeUndies because they're just comfortable overall. I've never had an underwear where I can wear it throughout the day and then don't even have to go change into tights to work out. I've done actual workouts in just my undies. It makes my life simple. With MeUndies, I feel like you can pretty much do everything to make all sorts of stuff. Undies, loungewear, and the best onesies. And guys, the stuff is soft, like softer than my dog Bougie's baby butt soft. After taking hits on the field all day, that softness feels like actual heaven. Sign up for their membership, as you can get undies delivered right to your door every month with all sorts of perks, site-wide sales, free shipping, and seriously, did I mention their onesies? It's like zipping up happiness all over your body. MeUndies has a great offer for all of you guys. First-time purchases get 50% off and free shipping. Go to MeUndies.com/sports. That's MeUndies.com/sports.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. If you just heard, Tom Brady will make his Bucs debut Sunday against Drew Brees' Saints on Fox. New Orleans has already done something rare. They're the first team in 5 years to be favored over a Brady-led team, breaking a 74-game regular season streak. Joined by the one and only NFL analyst, Reggie Bush. I love them headphones, Reggie, but no.
Right.
What's up, fellas?
Reggie, we see him.
Marcellus, I'm going to go to you first. Who is more likely to win the NFC, Brady's Bucs or Brees' Saints?
Oh, it's going to be Brady's Bucs, but I'm going to get through this quick. Because of that. That's why I'm going to go fast. Because I knew this wasn't a hard one for Reggie to prep for, saving his season tickets down there in New Orleans. So I'm going to get to you, Reggie, pretty fast here. But look, if you look at what the Bucs were able to do, everyone's talking about this offseason, what they've done offensively. Obviously, adding Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and then just shoring up all their weapons. You talk about Leonard Fournette, LaShawn McCoy, et cetera. But what we haven't taken notice of fully is how they finished off last season. Despite Jameis Winston having the turnovers, that defense in particular, how well that they played at the end of last year. So if you look at them last year, where were they? Top 5 in takeaways, and third in yards allowed on defense. That's a defense that's starting to hit its stride in the latter part of last year, the final 8 weeks. Now you take all of that momentum, add it with the offensive firepower that they have, you put a GOAT as a cherry on top. I think that they're going to be able to outmaneuver what the Bucs and the Saints are going to see week 1 and throughout this entire year. So I give the slight edge to the Bucs. Let's hear it, Eric. Let's hear it, Reggie.
You're wrong. Well, first off, before my dog Reggie kills you off, I'm going to throw my dog Reggie to oop. But let me start like this, Marcellus. You're a smart man, so I like talking smart to you. If addition by subtraction can exist, then subtraction by addition can also exist. Think about the Buccaneers and think about all them egos on that squad. You got Rob Gronkowski, first ballot future Hall of Famer, comes out of retirement to play with the greatest quarterback of all time. Well, then you got Mike Evans, who's in his primary receiver. You got Chris Godwin, who's in his primary receiver. I just told y'all about Gronkowski at one tight end. Your other tight end, O.J. Howard, well, he's a first-round pick. LaShawn McCoy sitting in the backfield. Also with Leonard Fournette, who was used to getting all the touches. Oh, but then you got Ronald Jones, who was promised to be the starter. There's only one football on the field, Marcellus.
One football. Here we go.
Problems.
One football.
But besides one football, there's one quarterback. Everybody killed Jameis Winston. Oh, my God, they killed him. Reggie, you heard it. They killed him. Marcellus, you heard it. They killed him. But wait. Jameis Winston is one of only 8 quarterbacks to pass for 5,000 yards in a season. Yeah, Tom Brady did that back in 2011. Marcellus, you were probably still playing then, sir. So as much as people was hating on Jameis actually got the ball around to all them pieces. Now, I'm going to tell you about the flaws in the Buccaneers defense, which is going to be their real problem later. That's the cliffhanger. Reggie, go ahead and kill this man Marcellus off, sir.
So listen, man, that defense that you talked about, you said how well they played at the end of the season. That defense was 29th in scoring.
Talk about
That's 29th out of 32 teams. Also, they were 30th in passing. What do the Saints do well? Please remind me. They throw the football well. And who do they throw it well to? Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, Emmanuel Sanders. we got so many options. So
yeah, you got so many. You ran out.
I think people. Nah, I was gonna say Taysom Hill.
Yeah, you better not.
Taysom Hill. But why not? Taysom Hill is a dog. But at the end of the day, what it's gonna come down to is this is a very different year for a lot of those guys. They don't have a preseason that they were able to work with and to gel and to build that chemistry on the football field.
That's real.
You mean to tell me they're gonna have to overcome adversity? And that first time is going to be against the New Orleans Saints, who have won the division 3 years in a row. Come on, man. People got to have real expectations about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow.
Saints all day.
Wow. We over here playing to poke the hole into it. Okay. Well, it's interesting. Last time I saw Drew Brees on the field, it didn't even look like he was the best quarterback for his team, let alone the Drew Brees that we know of. Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill looked like he was the best player on both teams last time I saw the Saints out there playing. Losing to Kirk Cousins, who couldn't win a big game, but he won a big game against y'all. How big are the Saints? Here's another thing, since y'all want to play the poke the hole argument. When Alvin Kamara decided to take a 4-day absence, I don't know where he was, and the Saints didn't know either. There were conversations about trading him. And they still haven't signed a deal yet. So whatever his value is, which I think is pretty high, is not high enough to the Saints because they haven't even hit the gavel yet on how great he can be. Go, Reggie Bush, defend the running back. Go ahead.
One pushback. I just spoke to Alvin Kamara. The deal's very close. They're about to get it done. And my dog is about to be back with the Saints, and everything is good. So we don't got to worry about Alvin Kamara.
Wait. We're going to get to that later. See, here, Reggie, you got to watch Marcellus.
I'm a poker.
If you're not slick, he going to move the field goal post.
Yeah, I got
you see how we had him against the ropes. He's trying to move it. And now he's trying to deflect and defer. Let's get back on topic, Marcellus.
All right, I got more.
If we don't even want to talk about the players that play within the 53 and the third width of the football field.
Oh, don't do this.
Let's talk about coaches, sir.
Let's go to war.
Sean Payton, 8 career playoff wins in 13 seasons as head coach. Bruce Arians, 1 career playoff win, 2 appearances in 6 seasons. I love B.A. I love his swag. I love his personality. I love his stances for equality. Pedo. I'm going to say pedo. I'm going to say it in Spanish. I'm not even going to say but. I'm going to say pedo. He still got some issues, bro, because B.A. hasn't shown the ability to win the big games. Sean Payton has. Now, flipping to the defensive side real quick. The Saints have a chokehold on this division. A chokehold. 37-11 in the last 3 seasons. 37-11 in the last 3 seasons. Marcellus, you're hoping, you're wishing on a prayer. You might as well take a penny out, throw it in the wishing well, and just hope that the Bucs win. Me and Reggie coming with facts. You coming with dreams, hopes, and ambitions.
That's what I'm saying, man. Listen, if we didn't have to go through this pandemic and teams, weren't forced to limit the amount of times that they could play actual games. So we have no preseason games now. So that's what I'm saying. There are so many elements that are going to play into this season that are just up against any team that has to start a different system with a new quarterback. There's going to be a learning curve. Cam Newton is about to go through the same thing up in New England. Nobody's going to hit the ground running. Everybody is going to be trying to figure this thing out for those first couple games. And all I'm saying is you don't want to be trying to figure out things against the New Orleans Saints, the NFC South defending champs.
Man, stop. You act like a dog needs like a warning, like he needs a learning curve. Dog don't need no time to stretch. He see food, he eat. And you talk about big dogs. What's a bigger dog that's going to hit the ground running in terms of a new environment and adversity than Tom Brady, the GOAT? Like, if anybody's just going to figure this thing on out before anyone else in the league, it's going to be a veteran, and it's going to be the most accomplished veteran in Tom Brady. And here's some more poking of your argument, Reggie Bush. You want to say that the Bucs were 29th in scoring last year, right? I know you didn't play defense because you were a star running back, and good to you.
I played against them, though.
You played against them, right. And what's the worst thing that can happen to a defense? When we hit that sideline, Acho, and we looking for that Gatorade and that Microsoft Surface.
Sudden change!
Jameis did it again! And them dudes are like, what? And they go out there, and that's why they were getting gas. You got to keep that in mind when you talk about this defense. And let's talk about the offense. 3rd in scoring last year. third in passing last year, and that's with Jameis Winston. So, guys, you got to look at the details of this team and situation and realize how they've shored that up. But this is a little too friendly. Y'all trying to double team me. I played the run extremely well, even in my 10th year.
Sit on the bar stool.
I got a little rivalry, it looks like, here, and I want to settle this in terms of football greatness. I know Acho wasn't on that Texas team that beat you, Reggie, in the national championship game. But, Reggie,
he's distracting you.
Texas
Reggie.
SC.
He's distracting
my
you.
son is going to be a senior sooner than you think. Texas SC.
This is what Marcellus does, Reggie. He tries to divide and conquer. He is trying to divide and conquer. I'm not going to let you do that, Marcellus.
Oh, okay, so it's SC. Okay, I feel you. It's SC.
Here what I'm going to do. Before we gotta move on, I gotta poke up the biggest hole in your argument. You said a dog ain't gotta stretch, Marcellus.
He ain't gotta stretch.
A dog just gotta go. You wanna know who has to stretch? A 43-year-old Tom Brady. That's who the heck gotta stretch.
What do you mean?
Because he gonna tear a hamstring, a quad, a glute. He gonna tear something if he don't stretch.
The TB12 method. Chill. How old is Drew Brees? And how is he looking?
And Gronkowski. And Gronkowski.
And Drew Brees.
He's gonna have to stretch too.
And Drew Brees.
All them gotta stretch. Anyway, Marcellus, I think that's it for you. You're going to need to revive during the commercial. Coming up, as you just heard from Reggie, the Saints are close to giving Alvin Kamara a huge deal. But did they really need to do this right now? I don't think so. But I'm going to let y'all know. Next, Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara, who is reportedly extremely close, according to Reggie Bush, to signing a new extension with the Saints that would nix the rumored trade talks. Running backs have been getting paid left and right this offseason, topped off by Christian McCaffrey's $16 million a year deal. While Kamara is in the last year of his rookie contract, another former Saints running back, Reggie Bush, is back in the building. Acho, need to know this. Would it be smart for the Saints to give Alvin Kamara a new deal?
It wouldn't. And I hate the man I'm becoming. I'm going to tell in front of the world, I'm going to confess to y'all. I hate the man I'm becoming because I used to be so pro player. You know, I hung it up, 4 or 5 years ago. And I was all pro player. But now I catch myself with these jaded thoughts as a manager, Marcellus. I catch myself thinking these managerial thoughts, and it makes me sick. But I got to be honest with y'all. They shouldn't give him a new deal, and here's why. It's not that Kamara's not a beast, not that he's not a stud. It's not that he's not that dude. The problem is I don't want Kamara without having Brees. And here's what I know. This is more than likely Drew Brees' last season. Next season, if Drew Brees is in a football stadium, he'll likely be in a booth calling games. So do I want to mortgage, to a degree, my future based on a running back, and I'm not necessarily going to have the quarterback that I would like to couple him with? Think about this. Kamara's first year in the league, what did we call him? A change of pace back. Reggie, you know that definition. I, as a linebacker, know that definition all too well. Taysom Hill, what do we call him? A change of pace guy, a gadget player. Do you, as the Saints, really want to have two of your more highly paid players both be change of pace instead of the pace? Because we've all publicly said Taysom Hill's not going to be the future at quarterback, but you're paying him $16 million. Now you're going to go pay Kamara a big deal, but he can't necessarily be the workhorse down in, down out running back. Remember, if you're going to pay him these big bucks, can you put your whole franchise behind him? McCaffrey, number 1 in touches last year with about 403 or 407. Zeke, number 2 in touches last year. You can build your franchise around them. Okay, let's go to another guy. Saquon Barkley, he still missed the entirety of 3 games, but was number 11 in touches last year. Where was Kamara? Number 19 overall in touches last year. So I'm not going to talk about his game or the fact that statistically it has been declining the last 3 years, because I think that's in part due to injuries and not using him as much and as properly as he should be used. But if you're looking at it objectively, removing our opinions and our biases from it, Reggie, you have to say that it's not wise to give him that kind of deal. Right?
Well, you gave me all the reasons as to why they shouldn't use him, but then you said that it's not because of X, Y, and Z. And so when I look at Alvin Kamara and I look at this offense and I look at Sean Payton, Alvin Kamara is exactly the type of player that Sean Payton loves to use. I would even go so far as to say Sean Payton needs a player like Alvin Kamara, because ever since he drafted me in 2006, he has been signing players or utilizing players that can do a lot of different things. It was Darren Sproles, and now it's Alvin Kamara. And so these are the kinds of players that help this offense go. These are the kinds of players that Sean Payton likes to use. And so if he was just a power back, a guy that just powered up the middle every time, 3-4 yards, then I would say maybe this doesn't fit the style of play for the New Orleans Saints. But it does, and this is what they do. And it doesn't matter if Drew Brees is going to be there or not going to be there next year, because the system will not change. It could be Jameis Winston next year. All I know is that Sean Payton is going to have a plan. Sean Payton is going to have somebody to take over after Drew Brees leaves.
I'm with you, Acho, on this one for different reasons. I just want to highlight some of the question marks. When you talk about giving someone top dollar or even an extension or a new deal, it has to come with a level of certainty. And there are some question marks about the New Orleans situation that leads to uncertainty. Let's start off with the future of this offense post-Drew Brees, future of the quarterback. If you want to say give it to Taysom Hill, he's already 30 years old and, as we said, is a change of pace, gadget type of quarterback. Can you really rely on him to the fullest? Let's talk about Alvin Kamara specifically in terms of he's been declining, whether it's because of usage, the question of that, or the question of his injuries. Is he durable enough? And all of that leads to a cloud of uncertainty. But to just give it to you in athlete speak, because I'm not up here just wearing a suit because I didn't get my hand dirty in the mud, in the dirt. Acho, it's amazing when you've been retired as long as you played, because you've been out of the game 4 or 5 years, you played 4 years. I've been out the game 13 years, and I played 10. You start to look at things a little bit differently. So if I'm Alvin Kamara, I start to look at it like, man, what is going on? So full screen king time, because I'm wondering if Alvin Kamara could keep up in terms of value. Look at this. Let's start rookie year to rookie year versus Christian McCaffrey. Alvin Kamara sitting there thinking, I got him. I'm the best. Look at my scrimmage yards. I got him. Then the next year, it's like, all right, cool, no problem. He beat me. The year after that, last year, he's like, damn, where'd Christian McCaffrey go? Like, you know where he went? He damn near about to lap your butt. That's the thing, and that's why there's uncertainty towards his value. So it's interesting. We know that Christian McCaffrey got $16 million per year as he passed by Alvin Kamara. You know who also called Alvin Kamara last year? Joe Mixon in terms of scrimmage yards. And he's sitting there at $12 million. So the greater conversation is, not is he going to get paid, but what do you pay him? Do you even pay him more than Joe Mixon, who's at $12 million per year based on these numbers?
I'm going to make a statement, and then, Reggie, I'm going to ask you a question that you got to answer honestly. The statement is very simple. Kamara is needed to win right now because, like you said, whether it was you, whether it was Sproles, whoever the case may be, you need the Saints are so versatile when you have a running back who's a threat out the backfield but is also a threat at receiver. But the question then for me becomes, after the Saints lose Brees, and you no longer have that stout dude at quarterback, aren't they going to have to do some sort of rebuild, Reggie? Because if you do have to do even a minor rebuild, not a major reconstruction, but if you even got to come in and fix the kitchen cabinets, you got to come in and retile them floors, do you want to be tied up to Kamara while you're doing so? Why don't you just try to leverage Kamara? That's my 2 cents.
Because you need continuity, right? You need to have some guys there who understand the culture of the football team. You need to have some guys there who understand what it is Sean Payton is looking for. So that's whether that's Jameis Winston or whether he goes out and drafts somebody, it doesn't matter. You still got to have those players. You still got to have big-time players to make big-time plays on Sundays. So I love Alvin Kamara with Michael Thomas, and you add Jared Cook in there. What quarterback wouldn't want to go to that offense? And then when you were comparing Alvin Kamara to Christian McCaffrey, well, Christian McCaffrey has gotten significantly more touches as those years have gone on. Alvin Kamara does not get those same amount of touches, so you can't really compare those numbers because those numbers don't really tell the truth.
I got to push back, Reggie, and I hate to do this because we just now met, but I got to push back. You said that McCaffrey is getting significantly more touches. You were correct. Statistically, you're correct. But in 2017, Kamara led the league in yards per touch. Number 1 overall, obviously. 2019, his yards per touch decreased by 2.5, and his rank in yards per touch went from 1st to 13th. So if you have somebody who statistically is decreasing, why would you give them more touches if they're doing less with the touches you're giving them? I'm not asking you a bias question. I just want your honest opinion. Like, you got to make that make sense for me.
You're saying yards per touch, right? If I'm a running back, right, and this happened to me. When I was with the New Orleans Saints, I'm not the type of person that can go in and just have 6 carries and give you 100 yards rushing. I need more carries so I can get into a rhythm, right? And so if he's not getting enough touches to get into that rhythm, well, then how can his yards per carry possibly go up? They would have to go down, right? Because, again, if you're Christian McCaffrey, you know you're going to get, 20, 25 touches a game? So you know that you're going to get an opportunity to really get into a rhythm, right, and get into a feel for that game. It is very hard to do that when you're getting 5 touches as a running back, and then you're getting 6 catches as a receiver, and then you're getting some punt returns here or some whatever it is. There needs to be continuity, and it has to allow you to get into a rhythm. That's what a running back truly is. You need touches to get into a rhythm. Marcellus, if you were a defensive end and I only put you in there 5 times and I said, go get me 5 sacks, that would be really hard for you to do that.
Yeah, you're right. But, Reggie, don't just talk about me as a defensive end. You know I was top 5 Pop Warner All-American in history in terms of my running back ability. And I know what you're saying, but I also know when I started to have to look at my future and say, I ain't going to be a running back in the pros, it's time to look at that defensive end. And you know how coaches look at it? One is durability. And let's just be real. Alvin Kamara has not been as durable for whatever reason. But 2, those spark plugs don't fire the same. And coaches look at it, and that's in part why they don't give you the same amount of touches. I'm not going to try to make the answer binary. I think it's a gumbo of all of our responses. But in final, I want to ask you this quickly. Joe Mixon is making $12 million, and we see Christian McCaffrey at $16 million. Where do you think Kamara falls? Below Mixon or between McCaffrey and him?
I think he's probably somewhere in and around Joe Mixon. I don't think he's going to be up to Christian McCaffrey because he's not getting those kinds of opportunities. So, yeah, because you got to understand, when you're in the contract negotiations, the first thing they use is your stats, right? And if whatever that stat is, for whatever reason, regardless, if you weren't getting those amount of touches, what those yards say and what those touchdowns say is what most are likely they're going to use against you. And so for Alvin Kamara, I think he's going to be a little bit lower than that just because he's not getting the sheer volume of touches as these other guys are getting. So how can you possibly put him up there and say, I deserve what Christian McCaffrey is getting or what, somebody else is getting?
All right, my man. Appreciate it, Reggie. You got to see my Pop Warner highlight tape, too, for real. It looked like you at USC. It was crazy. All right, coming up, Giannis had to watch the Bucs season end on the bench. We'll tell you if his days in Milwaukee are numbered. Next, Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. I'm posting it tomorrow.
Let's move on to the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had to sit out last night with a sprained ankle as the Bucs season ended. After the loss, talk moved to Giannis' future. The reigning MVP can become a free agent at the end of next season, and the Bucs can offer him the Supermax extension. Our own Chris Haynes asked the Greek Freak if he would hold the Bucs hostage this offseason if he wanted to change teams. And Giannis said, quote, "It's not happening." Joined now by Slick Rick. But Marcellus, I got to go to you. The Bucs continue to come up short in the playoffs. Should Giannis leave Milwaukee and go chase a ring?
Absolutely. He needs to go. Say yes, peace, goodbye, thank you for your services. And what I stand on, a few principles here. The first one is Giannis should be able to have the freedom of mobility to go to any of the other 29 teams and just play for financial success and freedom, but just the opportunity. But 2, as he's pursuing that, which is taking care of his and taking care of his family, he should be able to also go out there and chase a ring without the negative stigma. And that stigma has been placed on these players, especially of late, because the power is in the player more so than the general manager. The general manager is late to that party, to that transaction in terms of acquiring players. Players make that movement occur nowadays. Back in the 80s, yeah, it was a team that had Kareem already on it and Magic drafted to it, and then James Worthy's drafted to it, and then you have the Super Lakers, or in Boston where you have 4 Hall of Famers on the same team. Yeah, that's when the GM was sitting there in the cloudy, smoke-filled room and could make these moves and make these things happen. But now it's happening when these guys are at these skilled training facilities, just texting each other, just meeting in the Hamptons, whatever it may be. But the issue that I have the greatest point with and the greatest problem with is this sense of loyalty. Like, literally, you're drafted somewhere. You're forced to go somewhere to play. And he was forced to go to Milwaukee to play at the age of 18. And now, because of this loyalty, he's supposed or is expected to just stay there through highs and lows, and that shows loyalty. I think the greatest loyalty needs to be to himself and to his career and to his opportunities of pursuing a championship, and that's it.
Marcel, I'm disappointed in you for that one, sir. And as a man who looks up to you, I'm disappointed in you. Giannis doesn't need to go chase a ring. Giannis needs to bring a ring to himself. See, Giannis wouldn't be running toward a ring. He would be running away from his limitations. And that is the problem I have. Now, you always got to look at the counter argument. You don't want to be one of the greatest players of all time that never won a ring. You want to be one of the greatest players of all time, period. You don't want that little extra additive to that sentence. But Giannis, when they were talking about the Heat matchup, this is what really rubbed me the wrong way. You're about to be a two-time back-to-back NBA MVP. And everybody's saying, man, the Bucs had a bad matchup. The Bucs had a bad matchup. Giannis, you should be the bad matchup. You're 6'11", a freakazoid. But the problem is everybody is telling the Bucs what the Bucs couldn't do and what the Heat could do to them. How come people weren't sitting here like, man, the Heat will have no answer for Giannis? If he is that great, which he has the ability and has proven in the regular season the ability to do, then he got to be able to do that in the postseason, Marcellus. If Giannis were to leave, it's not as if Giannis does not have the nucleus of a roster that could win a ring. If Giannis were to leave, it would be a punk move, and we have seen punk moves as of late. Now,
we went punk move.
It depends what kind of bed you want to lie in. At the end of the day, Charles Barkley, he'll never be able to say he has a ring. But everybody does. We don't question Charles Barkley's greatness. On the flip side, KD will for sure be able to say he has several rings and finals MVPs. But people will always be like, man, KD, could you have won it without them Golden State Warriors? Because it's not like you didn't have a squad. So I'm just saying Giannis might end up in that same type of conversation. Marcellus, how you got the best record in the league and get bounced? Best record in the league and get bounced, and not even in a pretty fashion. Giannis doesn't need to go chase a ring. Giannis needs to bring a ring to him.
I almost feel bad jumping in on this at this point because, Acho, you just took Marcellus down. I feel like I'm piling on here. But
please bring it. Y'all both don't combine to my weight.
Let me be clear. And you guys may know this about me. Maybe you don't. I'm a practical man. I'm not into the whole loyalty thing. He should stay there. He should be guilted in staying there because so many guys have left and it's a small market. Giannis should stay in Milwaukee because he's not going to find a place better suited for him and everything that he wants to achieve. This is a Milwaukee Bucs team that was in the conference finals last year and went to the semis this year. It's a team that has another all-star in Chris Middleton next to him. He has two other all-defensive team players. He has a guy in the coach in Mike Budenholzer who's been in an organization that has won championships. He knows that championship formula. So when I put it all together, Milwaukee can, oh, by the way, billionaire owners who are willing to spend almost everything and anything. And there's a familiarity there that Giannis has. So I'm not asking him to do this to make a sacrifice to stay in Milwaukee. I'm looking at what he said, what he has, and I'm saying, Giannis, you can't go to a place that's going to get you something more than that. And if we're talking about legacy and legend, to bring a one championship to Milwaukee now connects him to Oscar Robertson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If he goes anyplace else, it's going to require multiple championships to get that done, in much the same way that LeBron's one championship in Cleveland is worth two in Miami.
Wow, yeah, I would love to be connected with Kareem and win a championship in Milwaukee and do what Kareem did, leave. Kareem left and got, what, 5 when he went to L.A.? So don't talk about that connection. Kareem was like, yeah, okay, that was cute. Let's go somewhere else where there are greener pastures. That said, there is a basketball situation that's even better for him right now, and a lot of reports are firing up about it. The Miami Heat, talking about our ownership and resources.
Come on, Marcellus. You that guy?
Acho is going to
go to the team that beats you? You're that guy.
Hell yeah.
Oh, you're that guy.
Hell yeah. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. Y'all didn't learn from the Kevin Durant situation.
What we didn't learn?
Because he got his 2 rings. Here's the thing. Nobody in history is going to question if Kevin Durant is a better basketball player than Charles Barkley. Just be real about that. Y'all can try to poke holes and call them all the names you want, but when you talk about who was better, you're not going to have that argument. And this is an argument that Giannis should not get lost in. Don't go down that path, brother. Go down the path that's best for you. Slick Rick, which I don't know where you are right now. It's pretty dark in there.
It was dark. It was incredibly dark.
Unsolved mysteries is chasing something going on right now. But Slick Rick, it's amazing that it sounds like a war crime almost how they draft you. They force you to go somewhere. And no matter what happens there, you're supposed to stay there or we're going to persecute your image. And a guy like Acho will call it a punk move if you decide to go to greener pastures to give you not only the financial success that you're going to get.
He's going to get that.
Either place. Okay. But there's a cherry on top potential if you go to the Miami Heat, and potentially go to the Portland Trail Blazers. Who knows what could happen to Golden State Warriors and what they could cook up. But the point of this is, I just don't like the stigma. Whatever he wants to do, if he wants to stay, please don't sit there and say, this guy is better than the rest because he stuck it out. Like Russell Westbrook was winning that argument for 2 or 3 years and then realized, man, let me try and figure this out somewhere else for greener pastures. I wish people would stop pushing back on these guys for having the freedom that we all should have.
It's not, Marcellus, that he's better than the rest. It's that Giannis said it himself. 2018, they asked him about superstar teams. He said, you don't got to have a lot of stars. He said, I definitely think we have great pieces, and every guy on this team knows his role and is having fun and enjoying his role. Giannis, when asked about being buddy-buddy with guys, he said Kobe didn't have a lot of friends while he was playing. He said KG, he wasn't buddy-buddy with a lot of guys. I just don't think that makes a ton of sense. Giannis didn't grow up in this AAU culture where we all got to kick it and post each other on Snapchat after the games. Giannis has already expressed his opinion, Marcellus. He has already said, I want to do it a different way. And how dare you even say that Giannis should go join the Heat, a team that Giannis should have been able to beat if Giannis, rather than joining and leaving and running to the Heat, just improves his skill set. Now when the Heat try to pack the paint, he can make them pay with the mid-range jumpers. Like, the problem is your ideology. Sure, but Durant was up 3-1. Up 3-1.
Oh, now it matters what the score was.
No. What matters is, at the end of the day, should KD have left or could KD have not just won? He could have just won.
No.
He could have just won.
And you give me one more thing, Slick Rick. Let me get on this. This whole Kobe and KG mentality. How did KG finally win a big 3 in Boston? How did Kobe win? Shaq? He got 3 with him. Then he had a super team that didn't win. And then he gets Pau Gasol. Y'all acting like these dudes could do it.
I'm just saying, we're not going to act like Pau Gasol was a world beater.
Chris Middleton is a good player, but if there's a greater situation, why would you want to have the reservation to chase
Slick, sorry, there's still some more meat on this bone.
Oh, Slick, eat.
No. I got to grow up real quick, Marcellus. I got to grow up real quick because you really...
I got you in that corner.
He's trying to, but I'm about to bob and weave. Here's the problem that you have, Marcellus. The only reason that the Bucs didn't advance was because of Giannis.
Oh, my God.
That's what you don't understand. Let me ask you this.
They wouldn't have been in that position without Giannis.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to play to your bias. I'm going to play to your bias. If Kawhi was on the Bucs instead of Giannis, do the Bucs beat the Heat? 1 for 1.
You know the answer.
Answer.
I can't
answer the question.
I really can't because the Heat have
know the answer.
And this shooting. Tremendous.
He's lying, and I can't.
I'm not lying.
Let's get him out of here.
I'm not lying.
Well, hold on. Let me answer.
Siakam and Kyle Lowry added with Kawhi Leonard was a championship.
The answer is
just Chris Middleton.
The answer is if Kawhi was on the Bucs instead of Giannis, the Bucs would have won. If LeBron was on the Bucs instead of Giannis, the Bucs would have won. And so you're sitting here and saying that Giannis should go chase other teams and should go chase a ring. Giannis could just improve his game because Giannis could just improve his game and be the killer.
Slick, help him out.
I need no help.
With the ego.
Let me button back up.
Here's the other part to this. First of all, making the comparison to KD is not fair because KD was a complete player and he went to a team in the Golden State Warriors that was perfect to complement him.
Thank you.
It was needed. That's not going to happen. Wherever Giannis goes, he's not going to go as a free agent. They're going to have to give up assets to get him. But if you look at the culprits, whether it's Miami or it's the Lakers or it's Dallas, any of the teams that have been mentioned, he's going as the second banana or as a carpetbagger. He's not going to be looked at as the guy. If he wins in Milwaukee, again, it's going to be because of Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the fact that they haven't won to this point is because of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Right now, he has a Scottie Pippen skill set.
Thank you.
I've talked to the coaches who have coached him. Jason Kidd, number of guys in Milwaukee. And they all say he has the Jordan mindset. He's just not there skill-wise yet. So why not develop those skills and bring home a championship in Milwaukee rather than go someplace else? You mentioned Russell Westbrook, Marcellus. How's that working out for Russell?
Talk about
He's now got to play behind James Harden. Even if he wins a ring there, he's not going to get the credit that he would have if he stayed in Oklahoma City.
Wow. One thing I didn't know is that I was working with a hypocrite.
So much truth. I don't know. I don't see it.
Acho is a hypocrite. And if you want a second this hypocrisy, go ahead.
How?
Because Acho, look,
I don't know.
he left somewhere to come over here to get paid and to get the ring and to join forces with the MVP of this talk game. It's your boy right here. Now, when Acho does it, it's all good. But if Giannis wants to go to greener pastures, it's a problem. Get out of here, you hypocrites. Let's move on to our big story. Coming up, the NFL season kicks off tomorrow night. We'll tell you if the Chiefs are the league's next dynasty. Next, you hypocrites.
I'm the MVP. I'm the MVP.
You're watching Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley with Emmanuel Acho.
My dog, you took some lashes that last hour. You took some lashes. He's still here, people, but he took some lashes.
Yeah, how was that free agency for you since you switched teams? Are you loving it? All right, let's get it started with our big story, sponsored by Jimmy Dean, because today's your day to shine on. Okay. The Chiefs will start the defense of their Super Bowl title tomorrow against the Texans, but it sounds like they're not satisfied with one championship. Tyreek Hill, cheater, predicted 7 rings this offseason, while the face of the franchise, Patrick Mahomes, has his sights on building an all-time team in KC, saying, quote, when you see we have a lot of these guys coming back, they want to be a part of this. They want to be a part of this culture. They want to be a part of trying to build a dynasty. Acho, are the Chiefs the NFL's next dynasty?
Man, absolutely. This is one of those easy questions, dude. Every now and then I love when you just throw me a oop, and like LeBron, I get to go up there and go get it. The Chiefs are clearly the next dynasty, but it's because when I think about dynasties, Marcellus.
Oh, hold up.
Marcellus. When I think about dynasties, big bro, I think about the nucleuses that have to be in place.
Okay.
And when I think about, the Patriots dynasty, they had 2 of them, you could say. First one, you have Tom Brady, obviously. Then on the defensive end, you got Teddy Bruschi, we got Willie McGinnis. Okay, second Patriots dynasty. You still got Tom Brady. Then you got Dante Hightower. You got McCourty at DB, whether it was cornerback or back there safety. When I think about the Chiefs, they have their pieces in place.
They do.
You got Patrick Mahomes locked up. You got Tyreek Hill. You got Travis Kelce. You just drafted a running back in the first round. Plus, you got a running back, Damian Williams, who just opted out this season. Defensively, you got Chris Jones, a stout Pro Bowler, probably the most underrated defensive lineman in the NFL. But then you also have Tyrann Mathieu, who you're going to relock up. But the biggest thing to me, Marcellus, when I think about this dynasty is people want to play there.
Yeah.
See, it's not necessarily like the Patriots, even amidst their dynasty, it was predicated upon Tom Brady. Like, he was going to be there regardless of who wanted to come and go. You had players who chose retirement in Gronkowski over wanting to play there.
Right.
Where the Chiefs, everybody's like, I want to be here. I'll sacrifice money to be here. So the Chiefs, in my first lap, that's where I'm going to drop the mic. Chiefs are clearly going to be a dynasty.
They're clearly not going to be a dynasty. And look, I'm not going to be too in front of my skis, too far ahead of my skis and say, absolutely not. But history already told us that this is probably not going to happen, despite them having everything in place. And let's talk about what was in place last year. How much confidence do you have in saying the word dynasty when they barely got to the destination? Be real. This was a team that was down 10. This was a team that was down 24 in the playoffs. This was a team that was down 10 in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. So if I'm going to sit there and say it with my chest, dynasty, here it comes, y'all got to make it look a little easier in terms of arriving at that destination, and they didn't. But now let's look at history as I'm the full screen king.
Oh, God.
And let's talk about back-to-back just back-to-back, forget dynasty, back-to-back Super Bowl winners. Of the 54, we got one to be determined. Obviously, that's the Chiefs. But I see 30% of the teams miss the playoffs. You mean I won a Super Bowl in the next year? 30% just missed the playoffs entirely? And then 61% of those teams didn't even advance to the conference championship. I'm using history and trying to map it onto the Kansas City Chiefs of today for reality, but we haven't seen this occur, Acho. Since when? The Patriots did it? What was that, 17 years ago? Chill, big dog.
Here's my first problem, Marcellus. Not everyone went to Columbia, okay? That graphic is about as complicated as a graphic I've ever seen.
That's why I gave you the most important number. You see that shaded area? That's more the teams that didn't do it.
No. But I'm going to reel it back in, and I'm going to do this off top of the dome like an analyst, like we get paid to do.
Okay.
Think about the competition for them to be a dynasty. Let's look in the AFC, and I'm just going to go down the list. I don't even see the players. Buffalo Bills, their quarterback, TBD. Miami Dolphins, their quarterback is old. Their other quarterback is injured. New England Patriots, what's Cam Newton going to do? New York Jets, their quarterback sees ghosts. Baltimore Ravens, okay, he's checked. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow's going to have to improve in spite of what they can do. Cleveland Browns, their quarterback an enigma. Pittsburgh Steelers, their quarterback is old. Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson has to win in spite of Bill O'Brien. Indianapolis Colts, their quarterback is old. Jaguars, no quarterback. Titans, their quarterback caught lightning in a bottle. Who else? Denver Broncos, their quarterback is young. Raiders, they don't even like their quarterback. And then you got the Chargers, they draft a quarterback in the top 10, top 5, and they're not even playing him. So I just gave you the whole AFC. And the only two names I didn't stutter over was Lamar and Deshaun. Those are the only two names, the only two teams that can stop this Chiefs team from being a dynasty. I just riddled that off in the last 40 seconds.
Yeah.
There's no stopping point for the Chiefs being a dynasty.
Too much Bill slander in there for my taste. Let's bring in somebody who knows a thing or two about football. LeVar Arrington, our guy. LeVar, settle this beef right here. Are the Chiefs the NFL's next dynasty?
No, they are not. They are not. And listen, there's been a lot said.
Yes.
I tend to go with the heaviest is the head who wears the crown, right? They're going to get everybody's best shot. You threw a lot of the AFC names out there, and that's interesting because before you talk Super Bowl, as Marcellus illustrated so well in the full screen, you're talking about 30% miss the playoffs. Well, think about this, guys. Their schedule is not easy. And you just went through the AFC like it was something that was going to be easy for them to navigate. When you look at who they have to play, I can easily see them losing 7 games. You think about the Ravens. The Ravens, the Patriots, the Bills, the Bucs, the Saints, and the Falcons are all teams that are more than personnel capable to win against this Kansas City team. Oh, and by the way, they could lose tomorrow in their home opener of their defense, but I'll touch on that later. You mentioned the defense of their crown, Marcellus. I'll touch on that on my next point.
25 teams since the salary cap era started in the early 90s. And let's just be real about this. Only 2 have won it back-to-back. Forget dynasty, just back-to-back. We're talking about the Denver Broncos, and we're talking about the New England Patriots. And when you look at this situation, it doesn't matter your pieces. It doesn't matter how we look at the roster. It doesn't matter how we look at the schedule. It matters that road ahead, you're going to have hell to pay. Because, one, you have to fight off the opponent that is going to be landing between your own ears in terms of complacency. They're saying all the right things right now, and that's why there is a thing called the Super Bowl hangover. For whatever reason, not every single man on this roster is going to go back to square one with the same amount of intensity and hunger. Andy Reid has talked about this. Andy Reid has even tried to make sure that these guys understand the sense of urgency that's necessary every single play to even put yourself in position to go out there and have a dynasty. But even back-to-back is going to be a daunting task. What happened to the Legion of Boom and them going to go back-to-back and create a dynasty? What happened to the 2010 Packers and they have 15 guys on IR and the next year they go 15-1 when they're completely healthy? And what happened to that back-to-back? What happened to all the times in the mid-90s we saw the Green Bay Packers when they had Reggie White and those boys supposed to go and have a dynasty? Like, we've just heard the false reports of dynasty before. And my last point is just kind of interesting in the universe. Andy Reid has been coaching as a head coach 21 years, and he finally gets one. And the Chiefs finally get their second Super Bowl in 50 years. Y'all think they just gonna come back to back and create a dynasty like that fast? There's going to be a war of attrition in the process.
Here's the problem with what you just said. There is no attrition, at least not internally within the Chiefs. Supposed to return 20 of their 22 starters. The only reason they didn't is because 2 opted out. So now they're returning 18 of their 22 starters. But consider this. Consider how much better the Chiefs actually are than everybody else. Even when they struggled, Marcellus, and you said this, I saw it with my own eyes, I was there, we was all talking about the game. Even when they struggled in the Super Bowl, they still won. Not because they necessarily were going to be the better team that day, as we use as a football cliche. It's because they were head and shoulders better than the 49ers if we get down to it. Again, I've used this analogy before. I watch Usain Bolt, 100-meter 2015 world champion. He slips out of the block, stumbles, his heels click, nearly falls face first, still wins. Not because he ran a better race that day, but because he's that much better. Last point I'm going to say here to just conclude this whole thought is this. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl before losing a game by more than 7 points. He won a Super Bowl before losing a game by more than 7 points. Even on Patrick Mahomes' off day, that's still better than most teams' best day. That's why they're going to be a dynasty.
Strong.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on this, and I'm going to say, no, you're totally incorrect on this, Mr. Macho Acho. And I gotta be honest here. The biggest question here, you continue to talk about all the continuity and everybody who's coming back and how many starters are coming back. Take a look at this defense, fellas, all right? When you look at this defense, your linebackers are in question. Now, you mentioned Tyrann Mathieu, right? They got some guys at that position, right? Frank Clark, they got Chris Jones, right? Those are your guys. But once you get outside of that, you're going to have to start the question, can they stop the run? You look at their linebacking core. Can you stop the run? And then you say, wow, in a passing league, can they stop the pass? Because that's going to be important when you have a guy that puts up the ball the way that Patrick Mahomes is. If it's a miss, you're going to have to play defense. So let's take a look at their secondary, right? It's a very unproven secondary. Biggest question mark? Okay. You got the safety, Daniel Sorensen. All right. First-year starter, 6th-round draft pick. What is he going to do? We don't know. He led the team in tackles a few years back, but we don't know what that means. Does that mean that their defense wasn't that good?
I
like Daniel, though.
You doing all this talking, LeVar.
He's okay. He's okay.
Nice.
Let's keep going.
I feel you.
Travaris, all right? Travarius Ward, Rashad Fenton, Antonio Hamilton. Are they ballers? Do we know who they are?
Somebody's on OurLads.com.
It doesn't matter. LeVar, there's a quote.
Oh, it matters.
There's a quote. They say love covers a multitude of sins. You want to know what else does? Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes covers a multitude of sins.
That's why you're making the mistake of thinking they're going to be.
I'm not.
You're making a mistake.
I'm not. 2 years ago,
you got to play defense.
Chiefs had the #1 offense.
You got to play defense.
Sure, you do. You have to play defense eventually, but the Chiefs only started playing defense week 11 of this past season.
That's real.
Remember, the first 11 weeks of the season, Chiefs defense was atrocious. But guess what? They turned it on for a little bit, and they won. What happened in the Super Bowl? Chiefs defense wasn't all that stout. But remember, what's the best defense? A really good offense. If the Chiefs are already up 24-0, you can't run the ball.
It's a bad argument because that San Francisco took their foot off the gas and allowed the Kansas City Chiefs to make some play.
Game of the
yes, they did. Yes, they did. They decided to play it a little safe.
I don't know if Love or Mahomes covers a multitude of sins, but I do know when you're talking about continuity going forward, sooner or later, some of those other players who can't get paid because everybody else already has gotten paid are going to be faced with a question. Do I want this dynasty or do I want dinner? And guess what? These dudes are going to start saying, I got to get my money. And then you're going to start to see the attrition accrue.
Show me defense first.
Time to drop some knowledge on Dak Prescott and a few others with something we like to call a WILEY-ISMS. New segment alert. Come back and get smarter. Next.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. It's time for my favorite segment, a new segment. It's time for some Wiley-isms. I put Wiley on the spot, and he dropped some knowledge on us. So let's get this thing popping, Marcellus. We're going to start in Dallas, where Dak Prescott is playing on a franchise tag, and he wants the new deal. But yesterday he said he don't think he got anything left to prove. So, big bro, do you actually believe that Dak isn't trying to prove something to the Cowboys?
Let's start off with a Wiley-ism, shall we? This advice, right? Rather choke on greatness than nibble on mediocrity. Oh, Dak Prescott is not going to eat the meal that you guys have served him, which is not a meal up to his standards, up to his expectations. Please stop trying to limit Dak Prescott in all you do. Dak Prescott has already passed the threshold of being a great player in this league. You want to know why? Because he's already outpacing the guy who's made the most money in the last 4 years in Kirk Cousins. So he has that financial security, that relaxed effort that already I'm a proven man in this league. Also, the owner and we look at Stephen Jones are always on record saying how much that they want Dak to be a Cowboy for life. So if you guys keep coming at Dak Prescott with all of these simple, limited expectations of who he should be, Dak Prescott will always laugh at you guys as he goes out there and fights for greatness, not mediocrity.
Choke on greatness, Dak Prescott, Marcellus, he just got to make sure he doesn't choke, period. Moving on, Steelers GM Kevin Colbert said they're more likely to draft a college player who actually played in 2020 over a dude that decided to opt out. So, big bro, do you blame the Steelers for being skeptical of players that opt out of college football this season?
Oh, the WILEY-ISM right here is simple. Discipline is deciding between what you want now and what you want later. Kudos to you players for understanding what the bigger picture looks like and what's more responsible towards your personal future and not just trying to make a general manager's job easier. Look, what's better, to have a Big 12 COVID title or to go out there and make it pro and do what's best for you and your family and be able to take care of you and yours? It's an obvious answer. But it seems like some general managers out there are going to have the meathead mentality and tell you, if we don't see you last year, then we don't know what to do with you in terms of evaluation. Oh, really? When I heard reports that after Trevor Lawrence's freshman year, he didn't need to play another down of football and he was going to be the #1 overall pick? Oh, you want to make your job easier but make me suffer through the process? I'm calling all you general managers out for that.
I have no grievances with that WILEY-ISM, Marcellius. So shall we move on?
Let's do it.
Finally, former NBA head coach Byron Scott, well, he called out the NBA players, Marcellus. Well, he called them out over the Nets' hiring of Steve Nash, saying, quote, our players don't do a good enough job of advocating for black coaches. So, Marcellus, on your final WILEY-ISM, sir,
yes,
do you agree with Byron Scott saying players have a responsibility to advocate for black coaches?
Oh, Byron Scott, a friend of mine, a great scholar he is as well. You have to watch what you ask for because you just might get it. Careful. This one is easily and thinly veiled in terms of rooting interest. So let me take you back. We're basically saying we're telling all players to root for a color. Don't root for just merit and credential. Root for a color. Interesting. But on the flip side, we're upset at owners who are now hiring associates, friends, and family. So my question is, how many white employees were at Death Row Records? Do y'all get what I'm coming from? Basically, when ownership is in your possession, you're able to do what the hell you want. Unfortunately, we live in a reality right now that the ownership doesn't look like the players. So guess what? The only way the players going to get out of this is either to own their own or make sure that they root for the right guys that go out there and succeed and continue to let the dominoes fall.
You got to watch what you ask for because you just might get it. So did you ask for a multi-million-dollar deal or did you not? I don't.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's talk about Colin Kaepernick, who was added to the Madden video game for the first time since 2016. The game came out in late August, but the option to put him on a team came out yesterday. Kaepernick was even given an 81 rating, which is higher than several starting quarterbacks, including Cam Newton and Kyler Murray. But that's not all. When he scores a touchdown, Kaepernick raises his fist to symbolize black power. Joined once again by LeVar Arrington. But Acho, what do you make of Kaepernick being back on Madden?
Come on, EA Sports, man. I can't even say I appreciate the effort. Here's my problem. I got so many issues with it.
Please take your time.
I got so many. Number one, y'all know in hoops, referee goes down the court, they miss an egregious call. So then they go back down the court and they call something that was non-existent because they got to make up for it.
Call.
It's a makeup call. EA Sports, all they doing is a makeup call. 2018, they omit Colin Kaepernick's name from a soundtrack on the game. 2019, he's still not on the game. So in 2020, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make a makeup call. But not only are we going to make a makeup call, we're going to make it so outlandish that we're going to rate him higher than the reigning Rookie of the Year, then Cam Newton, a dude who was an NFL MVP when Colin Kaepernick was 2-6 that season, and then also going to rate him higher than Ryan Tannehill, who had a historical season last year, fourth highest passer rating in NFL history. Now, I like Colin Kaepernick. Y'all know my stance on all this stuff. But EA Sports, if you're going to try to make a makeup call, you got to at least be a little slicker with it. Here's my other thing, Marcellus. The game came out in what, late August? Yeah. How come Kaepernick is on this update? Why wasn't Kaepernick rolled out when the game rolled out in late August? It's not like y'all didn't know Kaepernick wasn't going to be available. It's not like y'all didn't know if Kaepernick's existent. But are we doing this to be seen, or are we actually doing this because it's the right thing? When I look at this, unfortunately, all I see is a makeup call.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't do anything for me, but for Cap supporters out there, I don't think it should do anything for you as well. Uncle Jimmy coined the phrase, a WILEY-ISM, that he says,
quoting Uncle Jimmy,
I don't ask for too much, you just accept too little. Oof. And it just feels like that's pointed right now. Like, anybody who's cheering for this, y'all just taking anything they give you. And it's interesting, on my second lap, I'll tell you about how we've been there before and just taking anything they give us. But if you're on Cap's team, how is this a win? And then how is this even coming to fruition? Because he was supposedly taken off the game for not being a part of the union and signing the GLA, which is the group licensing agreement. But he's not a part of the union now and certified, or is he? And then why the late addition to this edition? A lot of things to really stew on if you want to go there. But LeVar, let's hear you, big dog.
Hey, fellas, a lot is a lot, right? And this is all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yeah, I hear you.
Think about this. Think about this. When they did the ad, you remember Nike? Y'all remember Nike? Yeah. Y'all remember Nike and Colin Kaepernick? How much does that headline say? How many? Count it out.
Billion.
There is 6 billion reasons why EA Sports decided to add Colin Kaepernick back to their game. What's good for the goose can also be good for the gander, as you've heard me say before. And when you look at what EA Sports is trying to do right now, they saw Nike take all of their chips and push them all into the center of the table and let it ride. Well, think about this. With all of the issues that are persisting in our culture right now, today, Colin Kaepernick's movement is more relevant and louder and more readily acceptable today and supported than what it was back then when Nike took a chance on it. So EA Sports sitting here like, hey, we're a big company like Nike. Let's go ahead and push all our chips into the center of the table. And if we shoot for the stars and the moon and the sun and the quasars out there with one Colin Kaepernick and what he represents to the people, and we come up short on 6 billion, we didn't do too bad.
But and I feel you, LA, but what you're saying is exactly right, and it's exactly why I have a problem with all this. Like,
that's exploitation, Nacho.
Like, I'm looking at intent. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we're in such a volatile, legitimate, trying time right now. I'm tired of seeing people leverage people for $1. Like, can we do that in 2021? Can we just focus in 2020 on, like, actually making quality decisions for quality life and for the quality of other people? Like, when I look at this Kaepernick situation, I'm like, wait a second now. Y'all even got him raising up the fist to symbolize black power.
Fist.
He never did that in a game. Like, if you're going to have him celebrate, let him kiss his bicep with the Superman symbol. Like, he never did that in a game. And I know that they said they talked to Colin Kaepernick about this, that, and the third, but I'm like, that also, Marcellus, it just boggles my mind because Cap never did that to celebrate. So now,
Joe, you touched on something. Hey,
get it. You touched on something.
You touched on something. Acho, talk about that. Talk to Kaepernick about this, because look, when you think about it, you are not going to be able to use this and leverage this unless Kaepernick was involved in this whole entire situation. So go ahead and expand on that. Go ahead and expand on that, Acho. Go ahead and expand on it.
Okay,
because the exploitation isn't just with EA. It stands with the person that's allowing them to do it as well. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Look, I'm going to go there. It's a part of the costume. And that's why, look, this is my whole stance on Colin Kaepernick from day one when I was at ESPN. I was not supporting him and following him, but I wasn't against what he was talking about in spirit. I just thought his moves were a lot of missteps, and he was in a little too deep of waters. His acumen or lack thereof was showing because of all those missteps. And look, I ain't got to go there. You already know him. And that's in part why he had to go silent, because he knew every time he spoke, he would step in it. That's on Colin Kaepernick. But the movement was greater than that in the spirit of it, so I never said anything until they started to have friendly fire and start shooting down other people trying to do the same thing they're doing differently. And that's when I said, well, I got a gun too, brother. And if we going to start capping, everybody going to get it in terms of integrity, in terms of intention, what you guys are talking about. So this is a part of the costume, because Kaepernick all of a sudden had to put on the black leather trench, always wearing black, the kente, had to get the afro, the cornrows.
Oh, yeah.
The black power fist. It's all a part of the costume, the optics, to seem like you're blacker than all. And look, go ahead, Colin, you did it, and it's still being done, so let's not act like that was in 2016. But here's the thing that I hold EA Sports responsible for, because they're sitting there as a video game power, and they're doing something, let's just be real, doesn't seem like they have the purest intentions. So they sit there and calculate and say, let's do something we really don't want to do, but hey, this is the flavor of the month, let's do it. And then they season it up and make it real tasty and throw a black power fist on there on top of that. Because he knows that they're going to eat it up. His followers, his supporters, they're going to eat it up. And it's not even what we want. It's the slops. It's the extras. It's the leftovers. And they're going to eat it up. You know what that reminds me of? I took a class one time, and they told us the origins of soul food and how our people would eat it up. But we know how it all started. It wasn't what we desired, what we wanted, what we truly were seeking. It was just another leftover distraction to get us all caught up in this cycle of pandering. I wish the pandering would stop, but I can't say that because there's too many people supporting it, not only in spirit, but also in dollar and purchasing power. It's crazy.
You're going to start to see Afro Sheen, Black Power picks come back. You know, the big long
we had those growing up.
Picks. Just for Men. I use Just for Men. It looks good on me. I like it. The bottom line here is when I said exploitation at the end of my first rant, it wasn't just saying exploitation, EA exploiting Colin Kaepernick, and that's what everybody probably sitting home watching this show thought. No, Colin is exploiting you, people. He's exploiting you. Why? Because they know if he puts that black power fist up in the air, that is going to be the most attractive thing to everyone who is out here trying to fight that fight. And when I take that moment where I don't want to be guilty about not fighting the cause, but I'm playing my video game because I still love playing my video games, I want to know that I did something that supported the cause. So I took Colin Kaepernick and added him to my team. He ain't even coming back to the league, y'all. Y'all accept the fact that Kaepernick isn't coming back to the league, but you're still going to buy this game. You're still going to use him in the game, and you're going to simulate him being a part of your favorite team. And for all the people that he turns off, for all the anti-protest people, all the people don't see this as being American and all the other adjectives used to describe what people are doing in favor of what Kaepernick supports, it's not enough of you. There's not enough of you that will boycott the game and not buy the game, where putting Kaepernick on that game with his black power fist up isn't going to resonate with the audience that's going to pay over $6 billion in product based off of the leadership and the value that Colin Kaepernick is pushing to you guys and that you're buying and you're running with. So God bless. That's America. That's called capitalism, people.
There are two ways to assess a situation. And you can assess the situation by the action, or you can assess the situation by the intent. I am assessing the situation by the intent. EA Sports, the action of putting Colin Kaepernick back in the game, kudos.
Yeah.
Golf clap. But the intent of putting Colin Kaepernick back in the game, question marks, because that's what I still am undecided about. Coming up.
Hold him accountable, too.
Yes, facts. Coming up, LeBron and Anthony Davis are 2 wins away from the conference finals. We'll tell you if that means the door is already shut on them Houston Rockets. That's next. Speak for yourself. Oh. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's head to the NBA, where the Lakers inched closer to the conference finals last night after beating the Rockets. LA's now up 2-1 in a series. AD and LeBron James combined for 62 points, while the Kings set a record with the most all-time playoff wins. GOAT status. Joined once again by Slick Rick, but Marcella's got to go to you first. Have the Lakers shut that door on the Rockets?
Oh, man, it looks that way. The family is in the room, hugged up. The patients on life support, sorry, Rockets, and they looking at that plug. They about to pull it on you guys because I don't know what's happening in the fourth quarter. The Rockets have been up in each of these 3 fourth quarters, and then they find themselves losing 2 of these 3 fourth quarters. And that's not the way it's supposed to work, especially when you're playing small ball. The Lakers last night went on that 17-5 run to start the fourth quarter, and it was lights out. And it came from weird places, like Rondo hitting 3-pointers, Caruso stepping up in the moment. And you start to realize, if the Lakers are going to keep playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo with their others in terms of stepping up outside of their dynamic duo, it's going to be curtains on the Rockets. They got to figure out a way to stop those others.
Marcellus, in English 11, I had to take vocabulary quizzes and vocabulary tests, and you have to learn a ton of words. Yeah. And I learned one word, Marcellus, I never thought I would use, and that word is ajar. A-J-A-R, ajar. It means a door that's left slightly open. You see, the Lakers have left this door ajar. It's not completely shut, but they about to shut it. I said the Lakers would win in 5. I now think the Lakers will likely win in 6. The Lakers are going to win, but the Lakers are getting bloodied up and bludgeoned a little bit while doing so. Remember, AD and LeBron, they've combined for 60 points 15 times on a season. They've had to do it twice, the last 2 games, again, if I'm not mistaken, to get these dubs. And even while they're getting these dubs, early on, like, it's not as if the Lakers are winning handily. You're kind of concerned for the first 3.5 quarters, and then late in that game, you're like, okay, the Lakers are pulling away. I do think the Lakers are going to shut the door eventually, but I don't think the door is shut just yet. The Rockets have shown us this. They can be trailing by 15, 20 points and come back in a flash. If we're being real, it's not as if the Rockets have played a great game either of the last 2 games. You could argue they played a terrible game 2, and the Lakers have still played at a very high level, at a very high clip. So I don't think the door is shut yet. They will shut it, but right now it's still left ajar.
Acho, I got to tell you, you are like LeBron on this show today, and Marcellus is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that he has maybe the MVP titles,
MVP twice.
And yet we know who the real MVP is, or is performing like one, and that has been you, my friend, when it comes to the NBA. You're 100% right. I don't have a whole lot of confidence that the Rockets are going to pull this off, but there is still an opening. The door is not shut, and it largely resides because the difference maker, the guy stepping up, has been Rajon Rondo. No one's plus-minus has been more tied to wins and losses other than LeBron than Rajon Rondo. And there's a question there about whether Rajon Rondo can stay healthy. Let's keep in mind, he missed games because of a back that tightened up. He missed games because of a broken thumb. And if you look at his recent history in the postseason, he has a tendency to break down if those postseason runs last any bit of time. So the possibility that Rajon Rondo could have another physical setback, and if he does, that changes the equation. I can tell you this, the Lakers are not up 2-1 in this series if Rajon Rondo is not a plus 35 in the last 2 games. So it's going to take the loss of a Rajon Rondo in order for this to turn, but history tells us that is a possibility.
Yeah, but the issue is, like last night, we see what? Harden goes for 33, Russ goes for 30, and that's their formula, but you're seeing the Lakers have this carousel with the other players outside of AD and LeBron step up with a consistent element being Rajon Rondo. I said the same things you guys said it. I just said it in picture form in terms of the family all hugged up looking at the Rockets on life support. And I think that the Lakers are ready to pull the plug. Think about it. Lakers go out there and have a repeat performance. Even if they're going into the fourth quarter, now they have this extra layer of confidence they didn't have even coming into this series. The question mark for the Lakers coming into the series was, what is AD going to do in the fourth quarter? What are the Lakers going to do in the fourth quarter? It seems like they've been able to answer that and also solve other issues. And that's why I say that this team right now is on life support. Are you going to get more out of Westbrook? Are you going to get more out of Harden? Are you going to get more out of your others? And even if you do, it seems like the Lakers' others are ready to step up and rise to the occasion.
My concern, Marcellus, and again, I told y'all I'm a pessimist, so as a Lakers fan, my concern is this. Game 2, when the Lakers were already down 1-0, they had to make a comeback. LeBron and AD, they combined for 62 points, and then Rondo's plus 28. So it was like, man. And then, mind you, Morris also had 12 points in 3 minutes. So you're wondering, okay, can the Lakers do this again? All right, Game 3, LeBron and AD combined for 62 points. Now, Rondo's not necessarily plus 28, but he gives you 21 points. Rondo hits several threes. So you're wondering, can the Lakers really do this again? I think this series for me has really been, okay, can the Lakers keep doing this? Because their formula is a little atypical. Howard's getting no burn. McGee getting no quality burn. AD and LeBron, are they going to have to continue to combine for 60 points just to get out the semis? If they do, you're still going to run into them dogs more than likely in the clip. It's just, I'm a little concerned. Yes, they'll shut it, but in shutting it, it's going to take a little bit of luck, a little bit of convenience, or LeBron and AD just giving everything they have night in and night out.
Lose a chunk of flesh in the process, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the question is can the Lakers maintain this form? And the Rockets, are they going to continue this way? If so, it defies what they were during the regular season. The Rockets got a greater percentage from free throws than they are in this series. They were better than the Lakers in that department, and they were much better. They were number 1 in the league when it came to three-pointers made per game. The Lakers have been able to balance that out and in some cases beat them in those categories they weren't able to during the regular season. If things go back to form, the Rockets do have a shot.
Yeah, second only to my Clippers in terms of getting to that free throw line. They need to do it. They need those free points against this dynamic duo. Coming up, I feel like we're back in school because Uncle Jimmy's going to grade today's show. Oh, we in trouble. That's next. Speak for yourself. Before we go, let's bring in Uncle Jimmy. Be nice. What letter grade would you give today's show, Unc?
Well, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to put it to you like this. All right. Emmanuel, I'm going to give you a B. Meaning you need to be ashamed of yourself for whooping up on Marcellus like you did today.
Did he?
Okay? First of all, you know your old man. He told you he don't believe in stretching, and you gonna brag and say, well, I rode my bike today. And then you don't put beating up on him. You told him, you said, I'm gonna bob and weave on you, Wiley. I'm gonna bob and weave. And then you told him, you said, you know what? Me and Reggie Bush came here full of facts. The only thing you and LeVar came here with was hopes, dreams, and Alizé wishes. Look, man, you need to be ashamed of yourself. Don't treat that man like that. Now, as far as you, Marcellus, you know I love you. I love you like a play cousin. I think you're amazing. So for your grade, I'm going to give you a C. Because it's amazing you can see after getting your ass whooped like that. I'm going to tell you what. Hey, I'm glad you had a sister to fight for you because we can definitely see now why come you was the fastest runner in your neighborhood. Because you definitely ain't got no hands. Hey, man, I ain't never seen you be so happy to see LeVar Arrington a day in my life. Come on. I got a good friend, LeVar. He knows a thing or two about football. And what LeVar said, I don't know number 2, dog. I just know 2. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Quoting me ain't gonna help you. You gonna quote me to try to save you. Uncle Jimmy said, man, hell no. Don't be trying to come up for me to save you now.